It's rock and roll!
Welcome to the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today it's just Ken and myself, who we're going to do a quick review. Who knows how quick it's going to be, because it is us. About ABBA. Yeah, ABBA.
ABBA dabba do.
Rock and roll, ABBA. I guess if you consider who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame these days, anything goes, anything is fair, right?
That's right. Yeah, ABBA. I mean, yeah, they call it rock and roll. You know, they're part of pop history and one of the biggest selling groups of all time.
Yeah, they may not be going on tour with Metallica, but you know what? When a band puts an album out after 40 years, I think it's worth a little bit of coverage, at least a review, and maybe to talk a little bit about our backstories with ABBA if we have one. And then we're going to go track by track and talk about the album. But you actually purchased it. I did not. And I'll say right out of the gate, I am not enough of a fan to have purchased it. I listened to it on Spotify to see if I liked it enough to listen to purchase it. And to be perfectly honest, I don't see myself purchasing it. But, as someone who does follow music news and not just rock and roll and heavy metal music, obviously I was aware of it. I was aware of Mamma Mia a few years ago and Mamma Mia 2, causing, a real surge of interest in the band again. I remember them talking about recording stuff in 2018, some of which is now on this album. I remember the offer to try and get them to reunite, as being one of the outlandish reunion offers made historically. And then I only remember them growing up, to be perfectly honest, or when I've heard them on the radio, and it's not a memorable thing. I've always liked their tunes, never enough to purchase an album. So if I'm listening to a lighter radio station and Waterloo or SOS or whatever comes on, it doesn't bother me. But I remember growing up in England and visiting my grandparents' house, and my aunt's just a little bit older than me. So she was much more in tune with current music at the time. So, I mean, she had Meatloaf, she had the Osmonds, she had, I seem to remember there being a couple of ABBA albums around, and that's really as close as I ever got to them. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, I first, became aware of them back in the mid 70s. I want to say around 75 or 76, and because I remember hearing SOS, which is, to me, it's still my favorite ABBA song of all time. Just love that song. And I ended up getting at that time they had the greatest hits came out, and so I bought that, and it had Mamma Mia on that, and a number of other hits. I mean, it was just full of hits. Even songs I never even heard before, actually, and they're all were good. And I pretty much wore that thing out. So after that, I was kind of a fan. So I was looking at albums that came out after that. I think my first other regular album that I got that they put out was The Album. It's called The Album, and which is to this day it's my favorite ABBA album. And then I got Voulez-Vous after that, and so on, and then got some of the back catalog. But they have a lot of good stuff, and that was my beginning, listening to them. And if we ever do, if we ever did one on ABBA, one of these episodes where we cover the whole album, I would do the album because I think it's that really good. And I think actually you would probably enjoy it. It's not all, lots of people think it's all disco or Dancing Queen. It's not disco at all. That album, it's just very well-crafted pop, and it has a lot of guitars in it, which is, more than what you hear now on maybe this new album.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with disco whatsoever, by the way. I like quite a lot of the Bee Gees and Bionic Boogie.
Yeah, Bee
You know,
Gees. Yeah,
and some of the stuff that was on Soul Train back in the day. So I don't have
right.
any problem with disco. Do I want to listen to it that often? No, I'm more in the rock and roll realm. I'm tending backwards these days away from the super heavy stuff and,
Yeah.
focusing on the Stones a lot more.
Ah,
Jeff Beck, and that's all a result of the Aerosmith, the
mm-hmm.
years of finishing up that book. So I'm firmly rooted in that at the moment. But you know what? By the end of the month, when the Beatles Get Back airs, I'll be back on another Beatles kick, no
Right.
doubt, as well. All right, well,
Yeah.
let's get into this album. You did buy it. You bought a couple of different versions. I'm going to do a show and tell on those two versions that you got and where you got them.
Yeah, one I got. This is okay. This is the CD. I got them both actually from the ABBA store. I actually went to that store because they had a lot of selection of everything. So they had this. It's kind of, they call it a box. Well, it doesn't cost like a lot of money. It was like $19 or something, but it has just a few extras in it. I think a poster, and it flips open. You got the CD. You got I don't know, a car, kind of a card of songs, and then you have these images. I get are done by industrial. What was it, Lucas?
LucasArts Industrial Light and Magic.
Yeah, that because they're doing their, because they're going to have that concert hall
They're
that they built, right?
avatars. Yeah.
Right, they're avatars, right? That's going to be in concert in that special, arena produced just for them to. That's the reunion. Is that in concert? So yeah, these four. It has four of those, and then it has another kind of picture of the album cover, the booklet with the lyrics and stuff like that. Like I said, there's a poster, fold out poster, and stickers.
Oh,
Gosh,
nice.
you even have stickers of all of them.
I guess if you release an album once every 40 years, you got to go all out.
You could put it on your school notebook, if you're going to school. But so yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, the last time someone bought an ABBA album, a new studio album, they were in school, and now they're grandparents.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I never thought that they would, put out something new. And then the other one, which is half speed mastered, I guess, at Abbey, because I looked at I think in the Run Out Groove. So it has the pictures again of that, and then the lyrics on the.
I saw yellow vinyl out there being offered. I saw the
There's the
exclusive.
yellow.
I think was Target or Walmart or something that had a slightly different cover with the avatars on it.
Yeah, and Amazon has like yellow or orange, and so. But I got the white. There is several colors of this thing. So yeah, it's
As clean as the Scandinavian
it's
snow.
very white, and but it was mastered, I guess, by Miles, which I've seen before on some other stuff I have at Abbey Road. So, and I listened to it one time so far, the vinyl, and it sounds really good.
All right, so you mentioned your favorite song, and I didn't. If I got to pick one, it's tough because I love Fernando. And
Fernando's very good. Yeah.
And Dancing Queen. It's kind of like a super predictable one, but it is really good.
Right.
I would only know the greatest hits. I don't claim any knowledge about ABBA whatsoever. Doing this for fun and a little change of pace. So let's get into the songs, and we're just going to go track by track, and then at the end we'll talk about our favorites. And it's probably not any point to mention least favorites, but we'll see if we're in the mood. So I Still Have Faith in You. Was that the first single?
I think it was, because I think I remember them announcing this thing, which I was like, it was kind of a surprise, obviously, and they had a little video for this song, and immediately when they start playing it, I mean, you're like, it's
ABBA.
unmistakable. It's okay, yeah, that's ABBA. So it still sounds like ABBA. We'll get into the differences of, I guess, ABBA today from ABBA 40 years ago. But yeah, that song is pretty standard. ABBA song that probably could have been a single back, in the early 80s when it's kind of continuation, I would think, from where they left off on what the last album was, The Visitors. So, yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, so this was one of the ones that dated from 2018 that was announced. I think it's the first two songs that they'd done back then. I did some research on this before this episode. I didn't feel like you'd just go in and talk about it. But my notes on this are, it's a beautiful ballad that could be interpreted as a timeless message of hopefulness, which is particularly valid today and was certainly valid in 2018 as well, because we are in a period of instability socially and politically and in every entity in the world. So it's, it's a very subtle and subdued, but it rises nicely in middle way, but it just goes on a little bit too long for me. It was one that my last note on it was, I don't think this needs to be 5 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not their best. It's not the best song on the album, as far as I'm concerned. But it does have that. Yeah, like you said, that building part in the middle where when they do that harmonizing and that sort of thing. It's really good. So from that standpoint,
I jumped on these when these videos went live on YouTube. I was there. That was my interest in it. That I immediately wanted, and then I was shouting for my wife, "Hey, there's an ABBA video!" Because she likes that music more than me. So again, it was a lot of excitement wrapped up in it, and I think that was the first one I listened to. I don't recall.
I think it is the first one from what I remember.
But it didn't exactly blow my socks off. It was like, oh, that's very nice. ABBA's done a new song after all these years, and it sounds like ABBA. Well,
exactly.
It was hardly going to be like Cardi B. So, at least there's no rapping, and they've stayed very true and honest. Let's move on to the next track, When You Danced With Me. And my initial impressions of that were just that it's very un-ABBA-ish to me. Now, you've got the catalog, so you may know if they've delved into different sounds previously, but going with its Celt inspirations, which I think Bjorn talked about, some of the inspiration coming from driving around Ireland, is not surprising, but it just doesn't feel like an ABBA song to me with those influences.
It sounds very, I guess, Europeans, synthesizer type stuff from the 80s. Sounds very 80s, the song. And yeah, I agree. It doesn't sound like their normal fare of music, though they tended to do all kinds of, throughout their albums, a lot of different things. But yeah, this one is probably the most not like ABBA, though it's a well done and very kind of a catchy song. And like I said, it's to me it's very 80s. It sounds something else I heard in the 80s.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of Pogues or Smithereens or
something. Yeah.
Those, the Irish elements are really tough to shoehorn unless you listen in kind of the folk genres a lot more than I do. And the only time I really listen to Irish folk is when I'm in an Irish pub. So
there you go.
Or a Scots pub for that matter, because very similar influences. All right, let's move on. This is going to be the new single. And once I saw that announcement as well, I was like, oh, well, how quickly they caught up with the times. Have a Christmas single and, a tie-in. But I just find it way too contrived. It's just saccharine. I was turned off by it immediately, but I do want to just say the vocals are just absolutely gorgeous. Even if I don't like the song at all, there's no denying beauty.
Yeah, obviously they can still sing, which is, and I didn't hear any, how you can hear auto-tune and a lot of stuff. I don't hear any of that. It's
vocal
possible
smoothing pedals?
Yeah, the vocal smoothing pedal. I don't recognize any of that going on, and though I guess it's possible, and I just can't tell, but they sounded very, very good still. So yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of saccharine, like you said. It's a Christmas song, and the parts I think they should have put this song at the very end as the last song of the album. Should have left it there because it is a Christmas kind of song. It doesn't sound very Christmassy, though. There's instruments in it that you do hear in traditional type Christmas songs, but it's way back. And I thought that they should have brought that stuff up more, forward in the mix. And I think it would have been better that way. But yeah, it's kind of a real basic kind of Christmas song.
Yeah, I think they should have left it off and dropped it as a surprise. No, dropped it as a surprise single.
Just a separate single from me. Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's a good idea.
Not have it on the album. I mean, with we'll talk about the other song later, but with two of them on the album that are in a very similar sort of style and dynamic, it's a little bit much on that end of the spectrum for me. Now, I'm sure long-term ABBA fans are, probably like it from a different perspective than Metalhead. So. All right, next up is another one of the 2018 songs, Don't Shut Me Down. So what were your thoughts on that? That's also a video that came out.
Yeah, and I guess, you said the other song from 2018, they initially were just going to do 2 songs, and then they decided, let's keep going, and they made it to 10. But yeah, this song, Don't Shut Me Down, This is your kind of disco kind of beat song, disco, right? So this kind of harkens back to me, it's kind of, it could have been off of Voulez-Vous. Voulez-Vous was kind of the album that had a lot of disco feel on that one. That's the most disco album that they had. So, and this, it's good. It would have fit in on that album. It's a, nice, good disco song and well sung and well performed. So I have no problem with it.
Nor did I. It hit all my buttons as an ABBA song. That's I guess what my comfort zone and where I like ABBA the most. The intro is gorgeous. The vocal is incredible. And when it kicks into gear, it's like 1978 again, as you say. So, particularly like the bass synth on there. It's got it's straight into that kind of disco-y, elegant disco beat going on, but lyrically, great chorus, really great, and also very modern in that sense. So you're being transported back to 1978 with 2021, lyrics and kind of perspective plus production. So ABBA pure gold for me is how I summed up my notes on there.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're into a happy area of the album for me.
Yeah.
Just a Notion.
Yeah, Just a Notion. And what's funny is it sounded familiar to me, and I was like, what? I said, well, it just sounds like one of their older songs, but it was one of their older songs. It was something that was, I guess, left off of that Voulez-Vous era recordings. Plus, they put it out, or a demo, or I can't remember, a version of it on their box set that came out, I think, I want to say the early 90s. I have that box set, CD box set. It's kind of like the best of ABBA kind of thing. 4 or 5 CDs. Maybe it's 3 CDs. I don't know. Can't remember how many, but it had that in it, and I didn't remember it was on there. But having said that, it is good, and it's definitely that old ABBA style and feel, and I always liked when they do the little fills in the background or the vocals, or where they go ah ha ha kind of thing, and in the song, and it's that's just a pure ABBA song, and it's a good song. I mean, I have no problem with it. I'm kind of glad that they tried to rework an old song that they never really finished, I guess.
Yeah, now, it is originally from Voulez-Vous, dating from 1978. It was also included as a snippet on a medley at the end of Thank You for the Music, the box set released in 1994.
I think you're okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And when I went looking for the original...
Okay, that's where it was.
Yeah, so it was brief. It was... this new version has new instrumentation recorded for it to update it, because I went looking for the original ABBA version, and I ended up watching a cover band's album that they cut a version of it, and I was like, that sounds just like ABBA. It ended up being a cover band, but that's how much I don't know about ABBA. So I did finally find the original, And yeah, the vocal, that's why it sounds like 1978, because the vocals are 1978
It was an
with
outtake
updated
from
music. So that's
78.
really cool that
Okay.
they went back there, but it also that it fits in so seamlessly.
Yeah, it
So
fit just fine. Yeah.
yeah, because the original backing music, they haven't changed it dramatically,
Mm-mm.
but they've changed it enough to modernize it so it doesn't feel dated. And that's as someone with a virgin impression of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard this, and then I heard the original. I'm like, oh, I like what they did with that. It's kind of softer, less brash, and less of an outtake now, and more as a fully realized song. But it's
Yep.
also a really good song. So you're
It
shocked that
is
it got cut and was never.
cut back then. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it was
I
never
agree.
used, say, as like on an ABBA version of a Led Zeppelin Coda album, bits and pieces, because that
Right.
quality song,
Mm-hmm.
should never have been wasted. So I'm glad that they're not wasting that sort of music. But it brings, the classic ABBA sound and feel to the album, but it
Yep.
almost seems a little bit like a safety measure. Ooh, we better include something legitimate in this album,
Yeah.
just in case.
I,
Just in case
yeah.
people
I
don't
don't.
like this new stuff, they've got something old and comfortable to fall back on.
Yeah. Who knows how many demos or songs that that didn't make the cut. And that's probably one of the ones that they thought were good enough to, it's like, well, yeah, this one was pretty good. We never really finished it. Let's do it properly. So
What was their
yeah, I'm
first
glad they
single?
did it.
What was it? Waterloo? That they did at
Waterloo was
Eurovision
a
in
single.
'74?
Yeah, that was a
Yeah, at
single.
least they didn't do Waterloo 2021 version,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would have been probably a big mistake. Definitely,
All
had they
right,
redone that one.
let's move on to I Can Be That Woman. Never thought those words would pass my mouth. But
I
what are your
can, you
thoughts on that one?
can, you really can. Um, yeah, this song is probably my least favorite on the album. Though it's sung well and all that stuff. It's kind of dreary to me. This song, it's just too. I don't know. I don't know if it's depressing or I don't know if it's that depressing, but it's just kind of like I said, dreary. So it's my least favorite. It's an okay song. It's not horrible, but it's just not one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, there was a couple of areas vocally that I thought it was starting to stray towards heart and the vocal sound in the
No,
80s when they went
maybe.
Ron Nevison,
Yeah,
or maybe it was Passion Works era. But the power and the tempo never rises, so it remains a bit bland.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
That's
have
it.
any contrast, and it feels too constrained. And then I wrote myself a note at the end. Now, forget about all that criticism and go and listen to it again, focusing solely on the lyrics.
Mm,
Lyrically, it's
it's
a
good.
freaking dynamo.
Hmm.
As a song, doesn't work for me, but lyrically, it makes you think,
Hmm.
which maybe is the idea. Maybe it's trying to draw attention to the lyrics by not being a beautiful song
Right.
that we rave about with
Production.
some of the others.
Hmm.
So maybe it's a ploy to get you to think about what they're actually singing, and then go back and listen to the album and read the lyrics as you go along. So
Yeah,
I
it
think that
could
one's a
be.
little bit of a ninja amongst these.
Yeah,
Next, Keep an Eye on Dan. What an odd title. What do you think on that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty cool song. I, I do like the synthesizers um, in this song. Also, I know they do a thing at the end there, the little nod to SOS with that little piano um, riff that came from SOS. It's just at the very end of the song, but otherwise it's a nice upbeat song. It's pretty catchy. Again, like I said, the synthesizers are really cool in that. I liked how they did it. It sounds more 80s kind of stuff again. Maybe could have been something that was on the Visitors album. Something that could have been on that.
Yeah, it's super fun. I think it's got a really catchy hook, tells a story. I like it musically, like it lyrically, has great structure and form. It's just fun. It's a really cool little track, and it's different-ish. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I didn't have much more to say than that. Smile, listen to it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I played it a couple times in a row, hit repeat on it just to, get through another Spotify ad and then get back to it again. So moving on, Bumblebee. Oh, you go on that one again.
Bumblebee. I think Bumblebee is lyrically. I think it's about climate change or something like that. But I do like the touch. This one again, the music, at least some of it harkens back to Fernando. It has that feel, those I don't know what you call them. I don't know if they're the instrument, some kind of wind instrument. I don't know if it's like a piccolo or some other instrument that does that sound. I don't know what instrument it is, but it's very cool, and the song is kind of to me it's like a dreamy kind of song. It feels like it's floating, right? And maybe that's it. Bumblebee is floating kind of thing, and you can kind of feel that in the instrumentation of the whole thing, and the way the song progresses, and the vocals and everything else. It's really, really kind of a beautiful song, really.
Yeah, you kind of summed up what my notes were on it. I'm like more on light and flighty music, whimsical. It's a little bit similar to When You Dance With Me. So and that's all I got. That's it. Light and flighty. Yeah, it sounds fine.
Flighty.
It sounds fun.
Bumblebee. There you go. Flighty.
There you go.
That makes
Bumblebee.
sense. So they did it right with that.
Yep. All right. No doubt about it. That sounds like
No.
a Gene Simmons song. No doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, if he hasn't written one, he should write one. No doubt about it. Yeah. Oh, this one. It sounds like two things to me, and I really like it. It's a really good song. It sounds like something from the album. Like I said, the album, which is my favorite album. It sounds like something that could have been part of it, like from a song called "Hole in Your Soul." Kind of a bit that part of the song, and then another part. The other parts of the song sound like, again, it sounds like something from their other album, their last album, The Visitors. So it's kind of a mixture of, to me, their past, but it's really a nice, cool sounding song, and yeah, it kind of takes you back. I think it was intentional. They tried to get that feel from those other songs in the past to write this song.
Nice. Well, that's the thinking man view of this song. Now I'll give you the knuckle-dragging caveman point of view in 4 words.
Okay, yeah, do that.
Up-tempo, more classical feel.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of that.
Well, the next one, yeah.
So it's a good... To my way of thinking, it would have been a great song to finish the album with, because you're ending on an up-tempo note. You're finishing on a more classic ABBA note. But that might then lead to, well, when's the next album coming out? So they put a nail in that avatar with an Ode to Freedom, the final track.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for that to get slapped on something when there's a world event needing some theme music. An Ode to Freedom is going to be there at the front saying, pick me, pick me, pick me. Yeah, so I don't like it at the end of the album. It's pompous. So flip them around, and if you got to have it, to me it's filler. It's filler, it's contrived, it's just waiting for an opportunity. It's an opportunist song. It's very European Union in some ways.
That's the headline. Yeah, the headline title for this episode is, ABBA,
is pompous and opportunistic.
It's pompous. Is the new ABBA music pompous? Well, maybe this one. But yeah, I like it from a standpoint. It's very this one, you said classical on the last one. This one to me is very a classical type song, and I agree that with its like orchestration, orchestra kind of feel of the whole thing, that it's kind of it could have been like yeah, like you said, like a theme for the Olympics, like you said, or movie or some grand kind of thing. I think I could see why you're saying it's pompous, but otherwise, I think it's a nice, well-sounding song. Yeah, maybe it shouldn't have been the last song on the album, but I guess they chose how, that's how they wanted to end the darn thing. Um,
Yeah, and I don't really mean pompous in the definition of the pompous.
yeah,
It's got pomp and grandiosity. It's big and grand.
grandiose is a good word.
It's
Yeah.
Brandenburg concerto type shit.
Yes, yes, yes. It's and I was reading another review about it too, this album, and I think the guy said around this one it was kind of like similar to kind of in a way Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake to a degree.
No,
Um,
that's a good analogy.
I mean, that's nice praise, if that's where it was going. But yeah, I could definitely feel that classical feel. I was like, right when it started, it's like, okay, oh, we're going
Just
classical.
wait. Benny and Bjorn will be out there with an orchestra and a choir doing Odes of Freedom within the next
What?
10 years.
Yeah, you know what I miss though on this album, is Benny or Bjorn, doing their. They usually have like one song an album where they sing lead, where they have a song. Usually it's a rocker too, and I'm kind of would have liked to have had that. It's a nice change of pace where they sing and then sometimes they'll sing something and then the two girls will answer that call
Girls,
kind of thing.
78
Yeah, girls,
years
women.
old.
We'll call them girls. Yeah. I know it's kind of funny, but back then it was a girl. But two women, I guess these days would
Ladies.
ladies would answer that, that or have background vocals, the high pitch. That's the other thing is less of the higher pitch, and I could see they probably can't sing the high as they did back in the day, but they still sing pretty darn good from what I've heard on this album.
Yeah, across the board, the vocals are fantastic. The instrumentation is fantastic. The production, yeah, come on, the production, it was never going to be a problem, was it?
No.
No, in terms
Yeah.
of structure and all the technical kind of things that I'm sure people will debate, I'm sure it hits, gets check boxes checked, for each one of
Right.
is it acceptable for this? What are the high points for on this album for you? Obviously you have a bit more taste than I clearly, so I guess you're able to appreciate it more, being more aware of more of ABBA's catalog than me.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, the first single was good. One of the better songs. Uh, the "Don't Shut Me Down," the disco one. Just a Notion, I think is really like. I think that one kind of gets stuck in my head. That one a bit. And then the Keep an Eye on Dan's, was good. So there's a lot of decent songs on here, and Bumblebee. Those songs are, and I want to say No Doubt About It too, because I do like that one a lot. So about half of them I really like. I think I say about 5 of the 10 I think are pretty good songs. That probably grow more on me.
Yeah, if I was making an ABBA playlist, I would throw Don't Shut Me Down and Just a Notion into that playlist. I could leave the rest of it quite happily, even, I still have faith in you. It is fine, it's nice, but it's just too long. So those are the two that, really work for me. But I've listened to, Don't Shut Me Down quite a few times now, and it still works nicely. So, you know what? I'm happy they put an album out. I'm happy
Yeah.
I'm happy that it's ABBA who are really going with the technology of an eternal band with the Avatar gig. So it'll be interesting to watch how that goes, because obviously there are bands that have tried, 3D holograms, the Ronnie James Dio abomination.
There was a Roy Orbison one they did too. And who's it? Tupac or something like that?
Oh, Tupac, yep.
Yeah, so I'd like to see if this one does well for them. Maybe it's like, oh, okay, well maybe that would be like a Kiss. Yeah,
I'd like to see the evolution of the technology, and working on it from a new perspective is very fascinating. If it's a broadcast or a pay-per-view thing, I'll probably wait until I can see it on YouTube. I wouldn't buy tickets to it necessarily. Maybe my wife would want to go to a cinema to watch it. Then I'd go. No problem at all. Because I'm sure we're going to get to hear a lot of the older songs as well.
Yeah, it'd be a concert. Yeah,
it'd be a fun experience, maybe an immersive experience. Especially hearing it in an IMAX type theater, or most theaters sound pretty good these days anyway.
Yeah, they do.
So I'm looking forward to it, because I'm looking forward to the possibilities that it may raise for other bands. Could you then see a Sgt. Pepper's Kiss Beatles show? Not Kiss. I don't want to see another Kiss show for a while. Or some of the bands that have been gone for a long period of time, could they create a 3D Jimi Hendrix experience, or a Janis Joplin experience, so
Elvis.
Come on, Elvis.
Yeah.
The 68 comeback special in 3D experience.
That'd be wild.
Yeah. Or Aloha again from Hawaii.
From Hawaii. Yeah.
So technologically, it's going to be very interesting, but yeah, good. It's a good album. It's been an exciting time waiting for it and for it to drop. And, that's our quick review on it.
Yep.
So if you've been wondering where we've been, I've been busy. We've all been busy, actually, and not been able to get around to doing a show. We did have one queued up, but we delayed so long another podcast did that topic. So
is that right?
Yeah, we'll have to get back on track in December after my Aerosmith book comes out, and I'm able to focus a little bit more and get back into our normal episodes. I am planning... It's funny, we're just finishing up with ABBA, and I'm going to mention this band. We are planning a couple of more episodes of the Wasp
More
show.
Wasp? Oh
yeah, we got Neon God Part 2, and since Blackie's announced touring, we're going to be doing a Back to the Beginning discussion on what we think he should be doing. So there you go, a bit of the alphabet from ABBA to Wasp in one show.
There you go.
There you go. That's our review. Check it out. You don't have to buy it. You can check it out on Spotify for free. And if you like it, purchase it. Support the artist, because I'm sure ABBA are starving.
Yeah, they're starving of money. Right.
Yeah. All right. That's it for now. We'll see you again soon with a fresh show. Take care. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us, like us, or even leave us a review. You can find us and join the conversation on Facebook.